In the Rouffignac cave in France, famous for its paintings of mammoths, archaeologists found chambers covered in finger flutings, lines drawn in the soft clay of the walls and ceilings. Analysis revealed that much of this art was made by children, some as young as 3 years old. One chamber is so rich in markings by children that some researchers have nicknamed it a prehistoric nursery, speculating it might have been a space where kids and creativity were intertwined. The markings high on the walls and ceilings even suggest adults were lifting the youngest children up to leave their mark. Your final exam is a spear throw at a moving target. Your homework is to figure out which berry feeds you and which one makes you severely ill. There are no grades, just one pass/fail mark: survival. This was the rigorous curriculum of a Stone Age child, and every single person alive today is descended from the few who graduated. So, what exactly did it take to pass? For most of the 300,000 years or so that our species has existed, there were no schools, no classrooms, and no textbooks. Life itself was the school, and the stakes were absolute. While modern childhood is often a space protected from responsibility, for our ancestors it was a long, unhurried, but intensely practical apprenticeship. Studies of hunter-gatherer societies, both ancient and modern, reveal an education system that was brutally effective because it had to be. Passing the test of childhood wasn't just about growing up. It was about earning your place as a vital provider for the tribe. A Stone Age child's education began the moment they could walk. Their classroom was the world, and every adult was a potential teacher. But you'd rarely see anything like a formal lesson. In his work on childhood across cultures, anthropologist David Lancy draws from a massive body of ethnographic research to show that deliberate adult teaching was surprisingly uncommon in many small-scale societies. Instead, children learned through a powerful combination of observation, participation, and most importantly, playing. From the earliest age, a child was immersed in what Lancy calls the chore curriculum. They would tag along with the adults, desperate to be part of the group. This meant fetching water, carrying a little firewood, or minding a younger sibling. At first they were clumsy, probably making more work for everyone else, but no one was grading them. There was no fear of failure, just a gradual build-up of competence. Before breakfast, a 6-year-old might have real responsibilities like checking simple snares or gathering kindling for the fire. Play wasn't just a fun distraction, it was humanity's original education system. And it was aimed squarely at adult life. Little kids played at digging up roots, and they familiarized themselves with the essential tools of their people. It wasn't uncommon for hunter-gatherer parents to allow their children to handle the tools of the trade under careful watch, trusting that you can't master survival without practical, hands-on experience. They learned to track, to build shelters, and to make fire, not in a formal lesson, but by watching, imitating, and practicing relentlessly. Archaeological evidence seems to back this up. This education often happened in mixed-age groups. A 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 14-year-old would roam and play together. The younger ones learned skills from the older ones, and the older ones learned patience and leadership. A huge portion of teaching was child to child, a horizontal transfer of knowledge that happened organically, with little direct adult intervention. As a child grew into their teen years, the lessons became more focused and far more intense. The time for play hunting was over. Now they had to master the skills that would make them a provider and a protector. This was the era of apprenticeship, learned not in a workshop, but in the heart of the wilderness. The first great subject was lithic arts, the craft of making stone tools. This wasn't as simple as just banging 2 rocks together. Flint knapping is a complex skill that takes years to master. An apprentice had to learn to see the tool inside the stone. They needed to know which types of rock worked best and how to find them. The process began with a heavy hammerstone to knock off the rough outer layer, then moved to a finer baton of wood or antler for shaping. And finally, delicate pressure, flaking with an antler tine to create a razor-sharp edge. Archaeologists sometimes find small, simple, and overproduced artifacts made from low-quality stone. It's widely believed these are the practice pieces of children, the discarded homework of a young flint knapper trying to imitate their elders. By the time they were a teenager, a child was expected to craft sophisticated tools, hand axes for game, scrapers for cleaning hides, and the sharp, elegant spear points that were essential for the hunt. The second and most critical subject was the hunt itself. This was the final exam. A child would spend years on the sidelines, just watching. They learned to move silently, to read tracks in the dirt, and to understand the subtle language of the forest. They memorized animal behaviors, migration patterns, and the scent of the wind. Bit by bit, they'd be given more responsibility. They might help drive an animal towards a trap or join in after a successful catch. Finally, the day would come when they took their place in the hunting party, armed with a spear they likely made themselves. Their navigation skills had to be flawless. With no maps, they carried a mental atlas of a territory that could be huge, memorizing every landmark, water source, and seasonal change. This deep ecological knowledge was the absolute foundation of their survival, passed down through generations. Surviving the Stone Age wasn't just about mastering the physical world. You could be the greatest hunter on the plains, but if you couldn't navigate the complex social world of your own band, you would be entirely isolated. The most important lessons of all were the unwritten laws of the group. Cooperation was the master skill. Many hunter-gatherer societies were and are deeply egalitarian, where the group's survival depends on sharing. A successful hunt didn't just belong to the hunter, it belonged to everyone. A child had to learn the intricate rules of distribution, of obligation, and of gratitude. Hoarding or selfishness was a major social crime, and the punishment was often ostracization. So, how were these crucial social and moral lessons taught? Primarily through storytelling. Around the flickering light of the campfire, elders would weave tales that were so much more than entertainment. These stories were a kind of oral textbook, encoding vital information. A myth about a trickster spirit might also contain a warning about a dangerous animal's habits. A legend about the ancestors could embed a map of the territory within its narrative. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups, like the Agta in the Philippines, show that storytellers are among the most respected members of the community. When asked who they would most want to live with, tribe members chose skilled storytellers significantly more often than even the best hunters. That's because stories are the glue that holds the group together. They reinforce social norms, teach morality, and coordinate group behavior. They answer the big questions. Who are we? Where did we come from? And how must we act to survive together? A child listening to these stories wasn't just passing the time. They were learning the very definition of their identity and their place in the world. Rituals and ceremonies were the final pieces of this social curriculum. These events marked the stages of life and reinforced the spiritual beliefs that gave meaning to their existence. They were the moments when specialized knowledge was passed on, and when a child's transition into a fully competent adult was formally recognized by the community. The curriculum of a Stone Age child was written on the landscape in the stars and in the hearts of their people. Their education was constant, hands-on and unforgiving. They learned by watching, by doing and by playing, with daily life itself as their tireless instructor. They learned that a sharp stone was technology, that a shared meal was society, and that a story could be the most powerful survival tool of all. There were no graduates in the way we think of them, only survivors. Every single person alive today is a descendant of those who passed this intense course. We carry their legacy and our species' incredible capacity to learn, to adapt, and to cooperate. The struggles and triumphs of these ancient children, learning their critical lessons at the dawn of humanity, are the foundation upon which our entire world is built. If you enjoyed this journey into our deep past, consider subscribing and liking the video for more stories of survival and human ingenuity.